For nearly 2 years, it's been impossible to go down under to Australia. We know that's because of the pandemic and their different... One of the toughest policies in the world Australia imposed when it comes to travel restrictions on its citizens and permanent residents back in March 2020. They wanted to try and prevent the virus from entering the country. When the border restrictions were relaxed in November, in response to an increasing vaccination rate among the Australian population, international students and skilled migrants were prioritised over tourists in being welcomed back to Australia. Now, it's opening its borders to all vaccinated tourists and business travellers from the 21st of this month. And let's get a view from Julia Bue-Said, who's the manager of the Advantage Travel Partnership. We appreciate your time at LBC News. This is a big moment.
It's a major step forward. You know, it finally feels like the world is slowly starting to open up. Australia opening gives us, huge amounts of optimism and will allow families to reunite, travellers to really get back out into the country. And for all those business travellers that have been dying to meet their clients face to face, can at last start to engage with them. So it's a really positive step forward.
Absolutely. I understand that there were 9.4 million international visitors to Australia in 2019, and a lot of those visitors coming from the UK.
Absolutely. So it's a cool market. We have a lot of expats out here as well, but it's a significant destination for business as well. So a lot of business travel happens on those routes. So absolutely, with it opening up, it really does start to show us that, travel is back on the agenda and we can start looking forward to some of these plans that lots of people had had for the last couple of years, but unfortunately not been able to go ahead with.
And visitors from the UK understandably spend an average of 30 nights down under. That's because of the travel time and no doubt the dreaded jet lag as well. Visitors, they usually like to go to Sydney, about 49%, Melbourne, about 32% of visitors, and Perth, 22%. Is it true to say that there might be some issues travelling around the country once you're there?
It's a really, really good point, Jim. So what we've certainly seen, even with the border opening up for family and even for domestic travel within Australia now, individual territories, a bit like the US, can impose their own restrictions. So what's really important is that anyone looking to travel to Australia needs to have a look at the individual territories and what restrictions are in place there. So there may be different restrictions based on, whether you go into restaurants or use different facilities. So that is a really important point for everyone to really make sure they're aware of.
For the travel industry itself, they've really must have been feeling the pinch here, how badly hit they've been, because the lockdown was really, really strict there.
Absolutely. It's decimated the tourism industry for Australia, both inbound and domestically. So this will certainly be a welcomed highlight for lots of tourism businesses in Australia. And as Advantage, we have a global network partners out there, so we've been speaking to them very regularly, so we know how tough it's been. So yeah, this will be a very welcome move for them too.
Are we expecting flights to Australia to rocket? Because it's a case of supply and demand. There'll be so many people that are desperate to be reunited with family and friends, let alone all those people that had booked trips that have been delayed. There'll be loads of people that got vouchers. What are we predicting to happen in terms of costs of flights?
I think inevitably supply and demand, we'll always see that, and we see that in our general day-to-day lives anyhow. So I think for anybody that has, there are lots of flights that will already be booked and will already be full because people do pre-book and they've had those flights hoping that the borders would open up. But anyone looking to travel to Australia, as always is the case, you do need to book it well in advance. People that are used to travelling there will be doing that anyhow. So book in advance, expect that there may be price increases depending on when you are travelling, but the capacity is going to be a lot less. There is a lot less capacity generally in terms of outbound flights from the UK now to all destinations compared to 2019, and the industry needs a bit of time to build itself back up and ensure that it can meet the demand as more of the world starts to open up.
I was going to say, surely a lot of the planes and a lot of the crew haven't been based in Australia for so long now. Is that something that takes time to reorganise?
Absolutely. You cannot put planes back up in the sky overnight. Exactly that. Pilots need to keep their hours going. Crew need to be in the right place. So, yeah, operation, it does take a bit of working through.
But let's face it, who does not want to go and see a koala?
Absolutely.
LBC News.
Always good to have you on the programme. Lots of people will be very pleased about this change that is coming. That is Julia Bue-Said, who is the manager of the Advantage Travel Partnership.